Chair, we're live.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. Today is a committee of the whole. I'll just read our little preamble. Welcome to the Beverly School Committee. Tonight is a committee of the whole meeting. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. As always, we appreciate BevCam's assistance in providing our remote hybrid platform. We're also using a meeting application at no cost to the district. We are streaming on on YouTube, and we are broadcasting on Channel 6 and HD 1073. So thank you, BevCam. Beginning in June of 2021 with the Chapter 20 Acts of 2021, which were twice extended and now further extended till March 31st, 2025, local governments and boards are granted permission to use, among other things, remote meetings. This allows for a suspension of the quorum and chair to physically be present, but does ask our body to use technical methods to ensure safe and reliable public access to our meetings. We also have permission from the Attorney General's office to continue having remote members present on a remote meeting platform once this act expires, unless our legislature and the governor decide to extend it even further. I want to remind people that tonight is a committee of the whole meeting, and that means we do not have an opportunity for the public to speak with us this evening. That next opportunity will occur on September 11th at our 7:30 p.m. regular school committee meeting. If anyone is interested in speaking, they can contact us at residentvoice@beverlyschools.org in advance to receive a link to participate remotely, to share their thoughts, preferably up to 3 minutes in email form, or you can join us here at the Beverly Middle School in the library in person. So tonight we have members of the school committee and various members of the district administration and leadership team, as well as some city leaders. We will conduct a full roll call attendance to make sure that everyone knows who is present. I do remind anyone that participates from home, I'll repeat that, anyone who participates from home should use the mute functionality to prevent background noises from becoming part of the record. Okay, let me now conduct the roll. We have Mayor Cahill.
Here.
Kimberly Coelho.
Here.
I don't yet see Dr. McKenzie, but we will check again. Dr. Jeffrey Silva.
Here.
Karen Robinson.
Here.
Lorinda Visnick.
Here.
And I'm Rachel Abel. Also present this evening, there's Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza as I am writing. I have, let's go online. We have Dr. Dorothy Flaherty online. Can you hear us? Perfect. And in the room we have Dr. Chirocek. Here. Donna Bergeron.
Here.
Our Director of Public Works, Mike Collins. Buildings and Grounds, Robert Shiroli. Our Athletic Director, Ryan Wood. Principal Mark Thomas. Director of People, Personnel, Services, all those P's. We have Bethany Splansky. Here. Executive Director of Operations, Aaron Brown. Here. Director of Finance, Emma Puglisi. Here. Okay, I think that is a roll call of those who are present. If we could turn our attention to the flag, I would like to ask Ms. Puglisi, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Our first order of business is the approval of meeting records from our 2 previous meetings. We had a committee of the whole meeting on June 23rd, 2024. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick. Were there any edits or corrections for that meeting record? Not seeing any. We're all physically present, so those in favor say aye or raise your hand. 7-0. I would next like to call for a motion to approve our open session minutes from our August 13th Committee of the Whole retreat session.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Were there any edits or corrections for the open portion of our retreat? Not seeing any. All those in favor? 7-0. Thank you so much. And without further ado, Dr. Trocheck, why don't you give us your superintendent report?
Thank you very much. I have a few items on the agenda today. First, I'll give you a brief update on the school year opening, just some tidbits here and there about how schools have opened. We have folks here tonight, Mike Collins, Bob Shiroli, and Mr. Thomas and Mr. Wood to talk a little, give us an update on the 40 field stands and lights. I have a very brief Title IX policy update for you. So those are the three items that I have. And I would start first with one of the things I wanted to share. I often start with our picture of all of our goals, but we have a very specific vision this year for working through belonging. We kicked off our day today, which, by the way, was a fabulous day. We had great high energy. We had a wonderful keynote speaker, her name, Dr. Amante Jackson, and she came to us and gave an amazing kickoff to what we hope will be a vision for all of us, all of the work that we do throughout the year on belonging. She was very well received. In essence, we really hope to continue the work that we've been doing in equity, following along the equity continuum. It's the focus of our school district improvement plan. It's a focus for a lot of the goals that we're creating individually for building administrators and myself for building administrators, as well as trickling down to teachers. So we're really looking forward to it. It was a great opportunity for us to talk together and really do some thinking about what it means and what it feels like to belong and what we need, what is our role within the school community to bring belonging to everyone. So that it's just in general, you'll hear me probably throughout the year talk a lot more about this and as we go forward. So this was just a great slide. It'll be included in the presentation that will be posted. It's kind of dense, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but in essence, really, it's to, instead of thinking about why do students have poor social and emotional capacities, we want to think more about how can we ensure our school climate leads to the healthy development of each student, just kind of shifting the narrative. So that whole idea of asset-based versus deficit-based, we had a lot of conversations about a lot of things. So very grateful to Dr. Darnisa Amante Jackson for her presentation, and to the staff in general. They really took it to heart. I got a lot of really positive feedback from folks, and I think people were energized in thinking about that and thinking about ways they can define their own roles within their classrooms. So it was really awesome. So that's just sort of how we kicked off the year. Beyond that, here are some of the nuts and bolts about our openings of school. Starting with the staffing update, we've done hiring over the summer. Not as much this summer as we have in past summers, but we have currently hired for the following positions. As you all know, we hired Ms. Kate Twombly as principal of the Cove Elementary School. Kate had a great day, lots of positive feedback in that direction too. So proud of her, and I know the Cove staff is very excited to have her leading there. So we hired one Unit B position. We replaced Kate at the middle school with a new assistant principal, Adam Goodstone, and Adam joined us. He comes from Chelsea, and he has been a great addition, and we look forward to him working with us in our buildings. We hired 22 Unit A teacher positions this year. Strictly, those are all really in the teacher positions, in addition to 5 other Unit A positions, which range from SLPAs, team chairs, school psychologists. So in all, 27 Unit A positions. I'll contrast that to last year when we hired 56 Unit A positions. So just to give you some sense, when I say we weren't doing as much hiring in the scope of things, it was a much smaller, but a very nice group. We had our new teacher orientation on Monday morning, and the new hires were all part of that group. It was a great group. They did a lot of work. Many, many thanks to Lara Collins and to Lauren Sweatman, who are our mentor teacher leaders, and they facilitate the group throughout the year. Some of those 27 members will have mentors individually based upon the amount of experience. Others that we hired were well-experienced paraprofessionals, but first new to Beverly. So that day was great. I know some of you all were there to welcome them, and that was really good. We hired 24 Unit C positions. Those are our paraprofessionals. That's pretty much in line with the same typical turnover that we have each year. We still have between 8 and 9 empty positions, and I'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing to try to fill those as we go through the year. And we are continuing to interview for, we still have one middle school special education opening. We're continuing to, advertise, look for, folks. We do have a plan to start the year, but we do have that opening, that remaining. And we do have, I think, between 8 or 9 paraprofessional openings across the district. And again, we're continuing to interview and bring folks in. And we have a smattering of food service positions that are still open as well, and Christina's working hard with her team to make sure that she fills those. So just kind of to talk about how and where we look for some of these folks in these open positions. We always use School Spring. School Spring's sort of a go-to for education. A lot of folks know and begin their search there, but we've stretched it and added, and we are also advertising on Indeed, and we are advertising in the Salem News for those positions. In terms of bus drivers and monitors, we're well-staffed to begin the year. Definitely, comparatively speaking to the past, we do have a full staff to be able to drive the routes that are all planned. However, we still do have openings for van drivers, CDL drivers, and monitors. I do want to give a shout out to Erin Brown and to Dana Cruikshank for the work they did in their pipeline this year. We have been having great success hiring monitors and helping them through the training to become van drivers, having our van drivers participate in training to become CDL drivers, and we were able to fill, a pretty good number of positions that way. So we're continuing with that. We do have more folks in the pipeline, so some of these positions, may be filled as they go through their trainings and get their licensure. So we have found that in our transportation department, that's been a really strong, positive move that we've made in the last year, and so I'm very grateful to them for the work that they do for that. I have one other thing that I'd like to bring to your attention. In the past budget cycle, we added a multilingual teacher to the middle school. I am going to be coming forward and requesting another teacher for English language learners in our middle school. Our numbers are up very drastically this year. We have, if you think about it this way, so many thanks to Caitlin Velez. I know you've all heard her present before, so she made a wonderful presentation to me today asking for me to consider that we add this position. Each grade level at the middle school is the same size as one of our elementary schools. If you think about it in that terms, 350 to 360 students in each grade is equivalent to the size of most of our elementary schools. The number of students that we have moving in is really high. So these are the numbers. The first column there tells you how many of those folks are coming back from already being in the English language program for next year. Number of new ELVs enrolling in 24-25 just at the middle school is 11 right now, and that's 11 and counting. I believe there are 4 or 5 others that are in the pipeline. And those that are moving in are coming in their first or second year in the U.S. So that's a big difference when you're trying to provide services. So when we do special education, every student gets an individualized education plan. With multilingual learners, there's a specific amount of service based upon your level, right? So if you're if you're a level 1 or a level 2, then we are required to provide 2 to 3 periods a day of not less than 45 minutes. So that makes a difference. It changes the dynamic. And our newcomers, those folks that come with no English, really require a lot of intensive services. So I sat down with Emma, put her right to task in one of her first times when I go in and say, I need money. And actually, we were able to identify through grants and through some, we have a couple of unfilled or people who are taking leaves. So we identified some funding sources. I think we're pretty close to identifying all that we need to be able to do this. So I hope to post an anticipated opening tomorrow, and then we'll come forward with the formal procedure through school committee for the added FTE, in the first regular school committee meeting. But we really, it is compelling. We really do need to think about how we service these students, and the numbers just keep growing at the middle school. So I wanted to put that on your radar. That's a position that we did not identify earlier in the process, and so I want to make sure that you all know that I'm going to be adding that position.
Okay, Mayor Cahill.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Trochik, I want to just ask, as I'm reading this,
Yep.
I think I'm reading that there are 71 EL students at the middle school right now. That's what you're expecting
14,
for
20.
Wednesday. I'm just adding those.
If you add columns 1 and 2, that's what we have as of 8/28. But I will tell you there are 3 or 4 in the registration process.
So, but anyway,
Yep.
that shows 71.
Yep.
Could you tell me how that compares to last spring, and also how we're staffing, just how many staff are assigned to,
Question.
dedicated
Sorry,
to working with these
Yeah, I
kids?
should have done that. Currently, last year we had 2 EL teachers and a para. We added an English language teacher through the budget process last year, so we were going to be staffed with 3. We're suggesting that in order to adequately meet the service delivery of the number of students that require that are first and second year or returning, that each grade level would have a dedicated English language learner teacher, and they would be able to work the scheduling, combining those different blocks of ESL instruction. All of those things would work better. So in the end, we would have 4 teachers for English learners, probably a ratio of about 18 or 19 per person, because 77 divided by 4 is, whatever, close to that.
So last year we had 2 teachers and a para.
Last year we had 2 teachers in the
Passed our budget for this year.
We had 3.
We set it at 3 teachers.
Correct.
And a para.
Oh, sorry.
So we had 2 teachers and a para last year, set our budget for 3 and a para. You're asking for a 4th. I know not tonight, but
Yep.
so what was the number of students when we wrapped up the year? You can follow up too.
Yeah,
It's
let me
okay.
follow
Yeah,
up,
that's
because
fine.
I can give you one piece of data because Caitlin has it up here. We currently, in the school year 22-23, we had 16 students who were in their first year and 4 students in their second year, and now we have a combination of 11, 18, 23, and that's before the new enrollments that we see coming. And again, we are a secondary receiver of families that have come to the U.S. and are, starting out in shelters and then moving into towns. And so, there is definitely an increase in numbers, and I will get you those numbers, but I don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Trochek?
All right, I'll keep going then. All right, awesome. And then we come to buildings and grounds. And so Bob is here. I'm going to read through. He had sent me a long report of what he did over the summer. I picked some of the ones that I thought were really awesome to highlight. This is not an exhaustive list of what was done over the summer, but I thought it was pretty indicative of the kind of work that was achieved over the summer by our custodial staff and by our buildings and grounds crew. So as always, every school received a deep cleaning, and that means wiping down furniture, cleaning walls, cleaning glass, scrubbing and stripping and waxing floors, and dusting the common shelf area. So each and every classroom in our entire district got that as a minimum. They worked on 125 different work orders that they completed from July to the present day. And he gave me a breakdown of whether that was HVAC or, all of the different things. And there are, at this point, they have 60 left that they're working on. And those come in on a rotating basis, and they get, taken care of as they go through. And so they're working through those. Of particular interest, I thought, we have 8 new stoves that were installed in the culinary classrooms. Those stoves were purchased through the Perkins Grant, and that's at the Beverly High School. I think many of you are aware that we had to, and I really not the right person to talk about chillers, because apparently we needed a chiller at the high school. It's a repair that was needed in order for the air conditioning to work in the auditorium in the library, and that work was completed over the summer, and I can attest to the fact that the auditorium was nice and cool in the last couple of days that we were there. A new playground was installed. If you remember, we had a playground that project that was going on that has been completed at Ayers. The HVAC controls were upgraded at the Centerville School. These HVAC controls allow us to monitor and control the mechanical equipment better, and this was the last of the schools to be upgraded, so now all of our schools have that, a similar opportunity to have that monitoring and control. Our phone system at Cove School is in the process of being updated. It should be completed by September 4th. There's been a lot of work, and I don't have specific answers to that, but if you have questions, I can always get back to you on it. I know the work has been ongoing, and we anticipate it being up and running by September 4th, which is the first day of school. At both the Hannah and McEwen schools, inclusive and adaptive playground equipment was added and installed. And there was classroom painting projects that were done over at the North Beverly Elementary School. So this is not an exhaustive list, because the list was really long and exhaustive, but I thought I would highlight for all of you just some of the work that was done over the summer. And so I did want to put a last note up there before we move on to hear about the lights at 40 Field. You know, we had conversations about rodents and rodent issues in the buildings. We continue to monitor that. We have seen an uptick in our exterior rodents around the schools. Bob listed BHS, BMS, Ayers, and Hannah. I'd like to add McEwen, because I personally escorted one of our friends out and back to the woods. I think the construction that's going on outside Cummings certainly has an impact on that, and displacement, and whenever there's construction like that. But we are working hard to monitor, to try to collect data, to track really what's going on around the various infestations. And I'm just going to share that we will be coming forward to a future F&F committee with some data on that, and to try to have some discussion around action on mitigation strategies. So we'll be collecting that data, and we'll bring it forward when we have enough to distribute to support a discussion. I am. F&F.
I would just like to add, yes, as I went to the high school in advance of our meetings yesterday, I wanted to leave some snacks, and I was discouraged wholeheartedly, and I think that's really an important piece of our issue, is to not leave tasty treats around our
Lying
schools.
around. I mean, everyone's really trying to, I think, take that to heart, and that is an important piece. And yet, I would say there was food eaten in almost every room in every building in the last 2 days. So, I think there's more work to be done on that. But we're not forgetting about this. We know that it's a question. We know that it's something that people have questions about, and so we're continuing to work on that. So I just wanted to make that clear. And so now I'm going to ask Mike Collins and Bob Shiroli and Mark Thomas and Ryan Wood to come up and have a conversation. Oh, sorry.
We have one more quick question.
Sorry, I'm skipping back to the previous topic. Can you speak to the hiring of teachers in surrounding communities with regard to
In numbers-wise, you mean?
Yeah, I'm just
Oh, I
wondering.
don't have that data. I don't really know. I don't know. I have seen in the newspaper a couple of folks that had challenges filling positions, but I don't have
I'm talking about
data.
the English learners, the teachers for English learners, and how
you
that
mean our
is.
multilingual learners?
Yes.
I don't have data off the top of my head. I do know, though, that not only there's a shelter task force group through the superintendents and the MASS that is working. Josh Vidala, who's the superintendent in Peabody, is one of the local representatives to that committee. They work with the governor and with the, around it, because it really, a lot of it is, there's a large influx of students that are coming into districts that are multilingual learners. So I don't know the
Can you
data.
speak to state and federal funding that's happening as a result of this influx?
Yeah, I can. There's state and federal funding available, however, only to primary shelter so you have to have a primary shelter in your district. So there's language around it that there's funding available if there's a shelter that was created specifically for the folks that are just coming in. Beverly does not have one of those shelters. Beverly has secondary shelters where, you know, or folks that are doubling up, so it works differently. In the end, there's resourcing that comes with it, because when you file your Chapter 70, you know, Chapter 70 funds come back with various increases, incremental increases based upon, you know, the demographic that you have. So there are exceptions when they're putting together that, but it comes a year later.
And can you speak to the shelter, how that is organized with the governor?
I don't
and
have,
how-
yeah, so no, I don't want to give misinformation, but I can certainly bring you back more as a, the Department of Ed monitors, I hate the word they use, but they call it migrants, you know, as migrant families arrive in Massachusetts, they monitor, and if they are placed in a shelter that was created specifically for that purpose, they have a record of that. And so, for example, and I will give some examples, Danvers and Peabody both have over 70 or 80 students that were specifically in those programs. So they receive funding, and I don't know the exact number, I want to say $104 per student or something, because of the placement of those students. Beverly's not eligible for those because the way that our students are placed here, they're either doubled up with family or they're in shelters that already existed prior to the creation of that.
But we do take part in schooling those children as well.
We do, they come to our
And
district.
transportation of those students from those locations.
Anyone that lives in
Is that right?
Beverly is our Beverly student, and we do provide all the services for them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, so I have these folks here, if you guys want to come on up and you can use the mic here. And I wanted to share a little information about our Beverly High School Lighting and Bleacher Project. And so these guys have put together a little thing. Whoever wants to be the speaker, there's a mic right here. Huh? It's blocked, we couldn't get it out. All right?
One of you's gonna have to hold it.
All right, so I have your slides. I will slide through them, and whoever wants to speak to it, feel free.
Sure.
I feel like this is like a
Got it, guys.
audition.
So certainly jump in, gentlemen, if there's anything I'm speaking out of turn with. But as far as the bleacher status and lighting status, right now the lighting equipment is on our campus. With the contractor, it's currently out to bid. Hopefully, looking to start that by the second week or so in September and get the lighting underway. As far as the bleachers go, we're expecting those about mid-September with assembly right after that, with the goal, hopefully, if all goes well here, to be on track to have both completed by October 1st. So this is an overhead view of the field. If you'll notice, there are 4 areas. Thank you.
Pretty much right opposite the 30-yard lines. It's just almost.
And that's where they're going to be placed.
That's the lighting stanchions. Yep.
Yeah, it takes 4 lights to light the whole field.
Wild, huh?
They're LED lights. Is there a slide of these? Was it Woburn or somebody?
Yes.
Middlesbrough.
Yep.
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 That just to show how dramatic the cutoff is for the lights nowadays. They're very high tech. When you walk outside the field, you're in darkness again. So there won't be any spillover into the neighbors' yards or whatnot. This isn't like a certain local field that got lights a long time ago that lights up the entire North Shore when they turn the lights on. This is a very efficient lighting, and the nice thing is it doesn't have to warm up. Like if anyone remembers the Super Bowl a number of years ago where the lights went out, it takes 15 minutes for the lights to reset. These can turn on and off instantly.
You want to talk about the bleachers?
We're going to be, just a note on the lights, that as early as next week, we're hoping to see some work out there installing the foundations for those 4 towers. The lights, as Mr. Thomas pointed out, are on hand. They're already in the parking lot waiting to be installed. I'm working with the contractor on some modifications that will hopefully prevent us from needing to go into the building at all. So we've modified the design since we went out to bid. I haven't worked with this contractor before. I like what I'm hearing from him. Good contractor with a good reputation. So we're hoping that'll be, our goal is, we're not asking the schools to change their operation at all in terms of practices or games or anything. We're going to work around the school operations so that we don't, so nobody has to be impacted at all. Bleachers, similar story. We approached both of these projects the same way, where we bought the lights and we bought the stands off of, with ESSER money and off of group procurements, federal procurements that allowed us to buy these. But in the case of both, we can't include construction labor by the contract, which is kind of weird. So we own pieces, and then we have to go out to bid to get a contractor to put them in. In the case of the bleachers, the labor to assemble them is included. We just need to put in the foundations, which will hopefully start in the next few days. And again, it's on the far side of the field, so there won't be any impact to operations.
So the next couple slides are a mock practice schedule or in mock game schedule. So this first slide looks at what we might have a typical afternoon if there were no games scheduled but only practices. So what you might see is the turf column there. Bring that up into hour slots, and that's not to say that a practice would only be an hour, but trying to get everybody onto the turf. They may shift to the grass at a certain time, or if they're utilizing the weight room or something along those lines. So depending on what the construct of their practice is. But looking at it this way, we'd have our slots all the way up, and you know, certain coaches, if you look down to like the 7 to 8 and 8 to 9 time frame, you have a varsity football practice and a sub-varsity football practice. They might practice all together and use that 2-hour window together, so we'd make an effort to try to stack those together. When you look at that 6 to 7, you can't even read the writing. I tried to get creative and combine two of our colors here for extracurriculars. Might be band or cheer. They might fit into that slot as well, along with you know, girls and boys soccer, field hockey, football, that type of thing. So. Yep, and so this might be how it looks with a game scheduled, where we'd look to have practices run up through 5 o'clock, and then a sub-varsity game for approximately an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half, and then a varsity game starting at 7 o'clock and going till the end of the day. We wouldn't stack anything after that.
That's my last one for that. So, any questions?
Dr. Silva, did I see your hand?
Yes, I have a question. In terms of storage under the bleachers, is that a possibility?
They're identical to Herd. So in terms of structure, if you've been to Herd, there's some cross bracing, but not a ton.
Yeah.
So there
Possible.
is a possibility to store things under there. It wouldn't be weather tight,
Right.
obviously, but it's better than being out in the wide open. You know, it'll keep the snow off, it'll keep the sun off, which is
Yeah,
important.
that's
Like
great.
even just for lacrosse nets or something like that, that would be a good place to put them.
Right.
Because they, you know, keep the sun from beating up the nets all winter.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it compared to like, this is not, these are not like erector set bleachers. These are made up of larger structural members, which is nice because they go up faster, and there's fewer cross braces and things like that underneath them. So it's a little bit more open than your average set of bleachers.
Great. And then my second question would be, in the future, if there were like video capabilities, do you see an opportunity on the light structures or somewhere working out something where you could mount a video camera for filming?
Yeah. As part of this sort of separate effort, we are going to be, we will bring fiber out to the field. So BevCam, for instance, they want to broadcast a game, they could connect live. eventually, probably very quickly, I didn't want to promise it as part of this, but we'll put a camera out there too. We'll put our own camera, security camera, maybe a PTZ or something that can keep a closer eye on the field. But yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have the contractor running extra conduit. They're going to dig down both sides of the field to put in the power for the lights. So they're going to put extra conduit and handholds for low voltage too. So we want to put either communications or fiber or whatever it is out there.
Great.
Have the provisions for it in
Excellent.
this. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Ms. Visnick, I saw your hand.
Thank you. My question is for our relatively new athletic director. Look, I think the most frequently asked question around town is the football schedule and the continued use of herd versus the excitement of playing Friday night under the lights. And so can you speak to that in general? And if there's going to be a game underneath the Friday night lights this year, how is that going to be managed from a schedule change point of view?
Sure. So I've spoken to all the athletic directors in the Northeast Conference, letting them know what we're going to have lights and stands installed, that there's going to be some games that are going to be flexed to the evening. That was received really well, just due to some busing issues. It's a lot easier for them to get buses later than earlier. My goal is to have, Friday night lights, having games there. So, the games that I looked at would be towards, obviously, the mid-October would be ideal, just from the sounds of when the lights and stands will be completed. So I've spoken to those athletic directors, and they're ready to go in regards to modifying that, and making sure that we have a nice, safe event, and hopefully everyone enjoys it, and it's a big opportunity, and kids are chomping at the bit, ready to have an event like that. So.
And do you follow up?
Real quickly, and then we'll go to Mayor Cahill.
Do you envision that it'll be like every sport will get a chance to do that? And
the plan.
specifically, right, we have a lot of tradition with football playing at Herd Stadium. So there's a lot of people concerned about us, quote unquote, abandoning Herd. So is every team going to get a chance to play under the lights, A, and B, can you say something about Herd?
Sure. Every team's going to have a chance to play under the lights. That's the goal. I'd like to even open up that opportunity for sub-varsity as well. To be honest with you, I really can't speak to the amount of time that we would utilize Herd moving forward from here. Probably be something that we could discuss as a committee, and everyone, all the appropriate parties involved in that regard. But I don't know moving forward in regards to how that will be utilized after that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Cahill.
Thanks, Madam President. Thanks for being here, gentlemen. I just want to say what I've been saying all along is, and we've talked about this, Mr. Thomas, I want our coaches and our families and our athletes and all their counterparts around the conference to know that once everything's functional, we're good if they're out there 7 nights a week. And we expect that kind of demand through the fall. I think it's maybe more second half of the fall typically anyway, but whether it's practices, whether it's games, all of our fall teams, I mean, I would love it. And it's really, I suppose, given that the schedule's already set, it's how many games can be successfully moved by agreement of both schools, right? But I would imagine the demand by both the athletes and their parents and coaches is going to be great. So, certainly I would expect that we're going to have a whole bunch of games out there once things are ready to go. And then they'll be there from now on for spring, for next fall, et cetera. So I'm excited. And I know that the marching band is looking to get out there as soon as they possibly can for their evening practices. And so, that's one thing we have in mind in trying to get the install done as quickly as possible on the lights. But yeah, I think the more that we can get this fall season out there, the better. And obviously the variable is just how quickly we're going to get the lights and the stands up, and know we're fully operational, because that's we've talked about shooting for that week of October 1st, and starting to kind of tentatively look to to change some times and target evenings. And I think as it comes clearer, my hope is, there'll be a lot of enthusiasm by all parties to get as much early evening activity and competition out there as possible.
Ms. Robinson?
Thank you. Will there be an opportunity for the band to sell? They sell food at the concession stand and to charge admission.
Yeah, so I think that's where, to your question too, Ms. Visnick, looking at a scale-back version of a couple of football games there this year as opposed to a wholesale shift for the amenities at Herd Stadium lend itself to a concession stand, to securing the facility to charge a gate, bathrooms. So some of those things, it's almost, I'd almost look at it like a pilot this year, kind of like what we did a couple years ago with the Friday Night Lights. So really trying to see what we can work with our facilities, what we can handle, while still keeping that's a terrific fundraiser for our band program. The gate itself is a terrific influx of money for the athletic program. So trying to still capture all of that too. So that's part of the thought process.
Thank you. Dr. Silva?
What are plans for bathrooms? Is there going to be a structure?
Okay. I'll answer that, Mr. Silva, since we've been talking about this. So we've been talking about all this stuff, right? And in terms of charging admission for the first time there's a football game there, we're going to try to do that, right? It'll be a little bit there. If somebody is determined to not pay admission, they'll find a way in, right? Some people find their way into Herd today if they're determined to not pay admission. But, when there's a football game there, I think the plan is that we'll set up for admissions at a couple of key, points where we expect people to come in. On bathrooms, the plan is to have some porta potties out there this fall, probably next spring. My hope and goal is that we're going to be able to build a bathroom building.
Great.
I think that's really important that we move towards that and we're able to do that. Some of the requirements that come with that are what we've got to work through, figure out just what we'd be required to, allowed to build. But for this fall and the spring, I think we're going to rely on porta potties, and the challenge is the right number and sufficiently frequent servicing, right?
Okay, I don't see any other hands. Thank you so much for giving us that update, and
Thank you.
looking forward to it, certainly.
Say one more thing.
One more thing, just while I have your attention, your microphone, I just wanted to thank Bob and John Coffey for the work they put in over the summer. I know it's unusual to have such an expert team of facility maintenance staff and all of the staff that work for them. We have a great team throughout the district. But, to have the kind of skill and knowledge and background that Bob and John both bring to us, I'm very grateful to work with them and done a lot of good work over the summer. There's been a lot of complicated things thrown at us, and the schools have gotten exponentially more difficult to take care of as they get more high-tech, but also, and which is a good thing, as the programming over the summer gets more and more. We used to have the whole summer to clean the school, and now it's like we get like a week here or there to rip the school apart, and it's incredible that it actually gets done every year. It's sort of a miracle. So I just want to express my gratitude to Bob and John Coffey.
Thank you. And I think if you get a chance to walk around the schools or as you're in the buildings, take a look around and you'll see what a great job that they have done, our entire custodial crew. So we're very fortunate. All right, and I just have one more, and this is really just an update. I'm not going to go too in-depth, but when we had our last school committee meeting, we had the opportunity to let you know that there were some changes to Title IX. I am really, the handout that you received is the, latest. We continue to work on sort of taking a look at our policies with our attorneys. The handout actually is just a really nice comparison from 2020 to 2024, and we have incorporated the training for the new changes to Title IX into our mandatory trainings for our staff at the beginning of the year. This is really just a little cliff notes of it for you side by side, so if anybody wanted to do any more reading about it. But we're continuing to work on it, and we will be going through policy to let them know when the new policy is ready to come forward for a final vote. So just a little update on that one.
Great, thank you. And
All
I
right.
think that's a good segue for the school committee chair update. I just wanted to welcome everyone back. Some of us, it doesn't feel like we left, but welcome back to our regularly scheduled meetings. Our fall schedule is posted. As Dr. Churchek mentioned, we did meet over the summer for our retreat, which is part of our own policy that we meet to discuss a topic. And during the open portion of that, we did have Dr. Flaherty present to us on some of the challenges with implementing the Title IX changes, with a few things that are still sort of up in the air with some of the other states. But in terms of Massachusetts, it seems like we are in a position to train and work with the new Title IX requirements. I wanted to also say that during that retreat, we had an opportunity to meet in executive session to discuss some of our negotiations. And we will be breaking twice this evening for a brief executive session for some negotiation works that we've done with our AFSCME unit. Then we will return to open session to have a formal vote on that agreement. And then we have some finance and facilities items that we'd like to clean up. And then finally, we will be just talking about our upcoming meetings and dates, and then re-entering executive session, not to return to open session. So at this time, if I could ask BevCam to sort of point away and turn off our volume, we're going to briefly go into executive session, and the chair would move that we meet in executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A for purposes 3, and to return to open session. Purpose 3 is to discuss strategy with respect to and preparation for collective bargaining with our AFSCME unit, because an open discussion may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. And that is a roll call. Mayor Cahill?
Should you get a second first?
Oh, I need a second. Yeah, I always forget that part. I thank you. Okay, well, I did the first, Mayor's the second, and Mayor Cahill.
Yes.
Yes. Kimberly Coelho.
Yes.
Ken-Ann Mackenzie DeFranza.
Yes.
Karen Robinson.
Yes.
Jeffrey Silva.
Yes.
Lorinda Visnick.
Yes.
Rachel Abel, yes. Okay, we are now in executive session, but Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you, BevCam, for that brief executive session. We are now returning to open session. And the matter before us is a contract between the Beverly School Committee and the AFSCME unit for crossing guards. This is a new collective bargaining agreement dated July 1st, 2024. That will be for 2 years until June 30th, 2026, at which time it will coincide with the renewals for the other AFSCME units. I'm looking for a motion to approve the contract that we've reviewed.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill, and I didn't see who was the second, but Ms. Bergeron, I'm sure you've picked. It was a tie. Karen Robinson, there you go. Were there any questions or concerns from the committee? I would just like to reflect that for an inaugural agreement, it was a pleasure to work with the AFSCME members. I would now like us, actually, I'll do it by a roll call just to make sure we have it in the record correctly, since this is a new agreement. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Kimberly Coelho,
Yes.
Ken-Ann McKenzie DeFranza,
Yes.
Karen Robinson,
Yes.
Jeffrey Silva,
Yes.
Laura Naviznik,
Yes.
and Rachel Abel, yes. A unanimous vote of 7-0 adopts the agreement between the Beverly School Committee and the AFSCME unit representing our crossing guards. Thank you so much. Okay. Next on our agenda, I would like to call on the Chair of Finance and Facilities. We have a number of items that we would like to sort of get cleared off the decks. These include gifts and transfers and grant approvals.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Abel. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities last met in June, on June 26th, and in particular, we did 3 major things. One of them was to vote to increase the daily substitute teacher rate from 110 to 135. We took a vote around student activity accounts. You're going to see some of that this evening. And then we heard from our wonderful B&G guys about end of the year wrap up, as well as what they had planned for their summer duties. Coming out of that meeting, Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities brings forward and recommends the approval to accept with gratitude amount of $9,402.10 out of the gifts of schools for May 2024. That is my motion.
Second?
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We are actually all in person, so we are able to do a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yep, 7-0.
The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends approval to accept, again with gratitude, another gifts to schools from June of 2024, totaling $37,325. That's my motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. All those in favor? 7-0.
All right, I should have put a little note in there. That one, I believe a lot of that money was from BevEd, their Honor a Teacher program, and then their teacher and parent grant program. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends approval of a batch of budget transfers. I'm going to itemize the budget transfer numbers. 550, 760, 1558, 1595, 1561, 1759, 1570, 1878, and 1096. All of those are in your packet, and our Standing Committee recommends those for approval. That is my motion.
Second?
Thank you, Dr. Silva. All those in favor? 7-0.
All right, a few more things. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends approval of the attached grants in the amount of $10,805.10. That is my motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. All those in favor? 7-0.
And The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends approval of the renaming of the student activity accounts and the acceptance of the student activity bank accounts. Those were also in your packet, and what I will say is, also I should have said earlier, was Jean's last meeting with us, and she just got everything in order, and each year, any given account is like the class of 2024, and then that account needs to go away because that class graduates, and then we get a new class coming in, and so keeping the accounts up to date. We're supposed to vote every time that they change. So this is kind of a batch of changes, and then we'll be up to date, and then hopefully every year we'll just have one or two little changes. So my motion is that this body accept these changes out of FNF.
And I will second that motion. Are there any questions for Ms. Visnick or Ms. Puglisi? All those in favor? 7-0. Thank you.
And finally, we had a set of meeting minutes that are really pretty old that we did not approve in the past because we had a lack of quorum. And so the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends a set of meeting minutes from November 29th of 2023 to be approved. That is my motion.
Second.
And for this, I think the problem was we had a shift in who was on the committee and that person wasn't there. And so I don't really know if we all can approve them, if we watched it on BevCam or sat through it because they were here. I don't really know what the procedure is, but you need a quorum of the members that were present. And it looks like it was you and Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
That would be our quorum.
That would be your quorum.
That's 2 out of 3. That's not bad. That's how the song goes.
But I don't think there's any harm. Those of us who were actually at the meeting also present. I don't know. These are meeting records, so you can decide.
I'm confused. So this, you're trying to get minutes approved of standing
Yeah.
committee.
We are trying to get all of our minutes approved and on our website. And at the time that we had the meeting, we had the wrong mix of people at the table, and then they got sort of put to the side.
So how many voting members are there of the subcommittees?
There's three.
Three
But
elected.
Ms. Coelho, I think, was absent at this meeting, and then I think Dr. McKenzie, you were absent at the next one, so they didn't have a quorum.
Two of you who are there are here, so you
Yep.
two can approve these.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
No,
what
I
I
guess
said.
I'm just doing math. But that's what you think too. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds like it makes.
Yes.
It does need one edit, though. My name's not spelled correctly on that one.
Okay.
Oh, and your mic wasn't on when you were talking.
So we will make that correction, and the motion on the table, Ms. Visnick, and really, I think it should be Dr. McKenzie for the second, if that's all right? Okay.
Second.
Okay. So Dr. McKenzie DeFranza is a second. Ms. Visnick with the edit, yes?
Yes.
And Dr. McKenzie DeFranza with the edit?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We will get those up on the website. Thank you for that. It was just,
And-
the shift of
Yeah, sorry.
memberships.
And so I am excited to say that I'm meeting with the brain trusts over there in the other part of the room in approximately 2 weeks to plan at least this fall's next set of FNF meetings and set our agendas and kick off this year's counting of the beans, as I like to call it.
Thank you very much. Returning back to our agenda, I just wanted to call attention to our fall schedule. As we had discussed, we would like our standing committees to meet 15 minutes earlier at 6:15. We still will have the hybrid option available, and that would allow for people to participate remotely if necessary. For our student advisory meetings, we will be hosting those in the even-numbered months at 5 p.m. in a wholly remote opportunity. I think that the students decided their participation would be greater if they had that flexibility. So we will, in October and December, be having a 5 p.m. remote meeting with our student leaders. So just make sure you get those dates. In addition, negotiations has set dates with the BTA to continue our discussions. Those continuing dates are September 12th, October 3rd, October 15th, October 30th, November 21st, and December 12th. Those are penciled in as dates should we find them necessary. I also wanted to remind people that the MASC conference, it's a joint conference, MASC and MASS, which is our superintendents. It is held in Hyannis each year. This year's dates are November 6th through 9th. I'm not sure that any of us have registered to attend, so I'm not sure if we need to send a delegate. But please keep that in mind if you're planning to attend. We'll be looking for a delegate and for our votes on the various topics that were in the packet you should have received at home. If you haven't received a hard copy from MASC, please let us know and we can get a copy to you to understand what the legislative, what's the word I'm looking for, resolutions are going to be this year. If there's no more questions about dates, the chair is again going to move that we go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for purposes 7 and 3, and not to return to open session. Purpose 7 is to review and approve meeting records, meaning minutes, from the executive session meetings of August 13th, 2024, June 26, 2024, October 18, 2023, and June 14, 2023. And purpose 3 is to discuss strategy with respect to and in preparation for collective bargaining with both the BTA and AFSCME units, because an open discussion may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. And again, we will not be returning to open session. So I have made that motion. Mayor Cahill has seconded. I will call the roll. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Kimberly Coelho,
Yes.
Ken Ann McKenzie DeFranza,
Yes.
Karen Robinson.
Yes.
Jeffrey Silva. Yes. Lorinda Visnick.
Yes.
And Rachel Abel, yes. 7-0. The time is now 8:09 p.m. We thank BevCam so much for their service, and we'll give them